Hello from outside the MKM Stadium, where Hull City have been beaten by a 1-0 against Sunderland, and it was controversial to say the least. Goalless for much of the game until the 63rd minute, when Sunderland broke away and scored the only goal of a keenly fought, tight contest here in front of a big MKM Stadium crowd. And I guess the big decision surrounds the 63rd minute, when City had a corner. They went to play short. Marvin Malem was tackled on the edge of or just outside the Sunderland box, and they broke away. Wilson Isidore ran 75 yards before slotting in past Ivor Pandor. But City felt it should have been disallowed. That in the build-up, so let's take it back from the short corner. Referee Bobby Madley was kind of got in the way. Basically, the short corner came out to Malem, and Madley got in the way. And then Malem took the touch, got himself in a mess, was tackled, lost the ball. Dan Neil played the ball to Isidore, who was still inside his own half at this point, and Cody Drame was with him. He overpowered Cody Drame, and the two had a bit of a battle, basically from the halfway line all the way to the Hull City goal at the north stand end, and Ivor Pandor couldn't stop it, and he clipped it into the back of the net. I mean, if we take out the controversy, the goal itself is a wonderful piece of forward play, so strong to shrug off the challenge from Ivor Pandor, from Cody Drame, and then to have the presence of mind, not only having ran 75 yards to then clip it into the back of the net. If you've not seen it, search it out and you'll see it. If you take away the controversy about the Malem moment, it's kind of almost similar to the goal they conceded against Sheffield United, when Mohamed Baloumi was robbed on the edge of the Sheffield United box. They broke away, and Gustavo Harmer scored the goal. It was very similar. City badly exposed, and from their own corner, attacking, trying to get the first goal of the game, they've ended up conceding a goal. And from then on, you never really felt that they were going to get back in the game. They actually started the second half really well, did City, having been fairly tepid in the first half. They came out in the second half, they pinned Sunderland back. Baloumi rocketed an effort just over the angle of post and bar, and then Chris Bedia hit the crossbar with a thunderous effort that was, in fairness, rising. If he'd have maybe kept it a bit low, he probably would have scored. But let's go to that big moment. Yeah, I completely understand Hull City's frustrations. The referee, I actually think Bobby Madley is a really good referee, to be quite honest. I really like him. I think he's a very good referee, officiated at the top level, but he didn't have a particularly good afternoon this afternoon. There was a few moments, I think 3 occasions he got in the way of the ball. There was a moment in the second half after the controversial goal, actually, where he brought play back. But correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure people will here, but I think the rule is, if the ball hits the referee, he has a duty to stop play and give the ball back to the team that had the ball at the time. If he happens to get in the way of a ball that's coming, if a pass is being made between two Hull City players, and he happens to get in the path of the ball, or the path of the ball, but it doesn't actually touch him, and he just jumps out of the way and it still goes to its intended target, I don't think he has, under the rules, a reason to stop play. It would be down to his interpretation and his feeling of that particular situation. He obviously felt in real time in the game that he hadn't impeded Malem, because the ball still got to Malem. Malem still had time on the ball, but then tried to turn, got himself in a twist and got tackled. So yeah, it wasn't a great decision. For me, I think Hull City have got to do better. Like I say, I completely understand the frustrations of everybody and the players and the manager, etc. But I just think they've given the ball away on the edge of their 18-yard box. Yes, no doubt Madley gets in the way of Malem, but he still has time to take a touch, to control the ball before he's closed down. He can still move that ball on. He then gets tackled, and then the striker runs 75 yards before scoring. You know, a lot has happened from Madley getting in the way. You know, Malem should be stronger in the tackle. He wasn't. He was pushed over too easy. Cody Drame could have been stronger in the various challenges he had with Isidore. So, and then obviously he then runs the length of the half before stopping, twisting around, and scoring. So, for me, and I would always err on the side of backing City if I felt it was just cause. I just think to blame the referee for them losing today is a bit of a cop-out, frankly. They could have done better in that situation, and they had an awful lot of time between Malem losing the ball, 10 yards, 15 yards outside the penalty area, and then the lad going on the scoring 75 yards later. So I think in the emotion that we all have, football fans have a lot of emotion, the immediate aftermath, it's easy to blame the referee. I get it. But sometimes you have to look a bit closer to home, and what could we have done better to avoid that happening? Could we have dealt with the ball better on the edge of the 18-yard box? Absolutely we could. Could we have maybe had another player cover? We've been done before on this from our own corner. We've conceded, we've left one player back, and that is really high. So I think there are a lot of things that in the cold light of day, City will go back to their analysis and they will look back and go, yeah, okay, the referee's made an error, but he made an error on the edge of the Sunderland penalty area. We needed to be better. So, look, there was a handball in the first, right, bizarre. I can't remember the last time I saw a game where there was no added time at the end of a half, and that was the case there. The ball over the top, Gustavo Puerta, debut, we'll come to that in a minute. Ball over the top, he's running towards the penalty area, and Chris Mepham sticks his arm out. It clearly slams Mepham's arm, and it goes into the arms of Anthony Patterson, and that was literally the last play. 45 minutes up, he blew his half-time whistle. That was it was outside the box, but it should have been at very least a free kick and a potentially yellow card. Tim Volter thought it should have been a red card. But that was another poor decision from the referee, which could have impacted City. But let's look at the facts. They didn't have a shot on target in the game. Yes, Balloumi's hit one over, Beddy has hit the crossbar, but that's a home game where they haven't had a single shot on target. So again, we can blame other people, but I think we have to look closer to home and think, well, actually, did we do enough to win that game? Absolutely not. Nowhere near. They haven't had... Luke, I don't think he has. Sorry, referees had he's an absolute disgrace. Single-handedly decided the outcome. I don't think he has, Luke. I'm sorry, and I respect your opinion, pal, but I don't agree. I think to blame the referee for Hull City losing that game is to take away any blame of Hull City, and I just think that's a cheap shot, really. Yes, he had an impact in the goal. He did. But as I've just spent the last 10 minutes explaining, so much has happened after that before Hull City concede a goal, And I think we have to be careful, not just to brush this game off and go, well, we only lost because of the referee, and then not look at why we lost. And I just think that's a cheap way out, an easy way out, and I just don't think that's the right thing to. I just don't think that's right, personally. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't. Yeah, maybe it was going to be 0-0. I think Sunderland were the better. What I would say is, I think Sunderland were the better team in the first half. I don't think that. I thought Sunderland were better in the first half. They looked more likely, if anybody was going to score a goal. I thought City were better, were much better at the start of the second half, and played with a bit more directness. They were quicker. But again, I don't think they look like scoring, if I'm brutally honest. I don't think they ever look. I don't think you can truly say we've come away from there, we've peppered them with shots, and we look like scoring. I just don't think it was that type of game. I think, yeah, probably a draw is a fair result. Possibly. Did Sunderland do enough to win the game? Probably not. But I think a draw would have been a fair result. But I equally think that they got a chance and they took it. We didn't. We carved out one decent opportunity through Bedio and he hit the crossbar. So, and Tim said this at the end, when you're at the top of the table, perhaps the little decisions go for you. When you're not at the top, when you're sort of middle to bottom, they go against you. And that was exactly what happened today. And I can't get away from the fact that I just think City City have to be better in those situations. You know, they like to play from short corners. They think it's a good way of creating chances, and that's fine. That's their way of playing, and you respect that. But my wider issue is that when they lose the ball, they're so open, and you have to be perfect. And I just spoke to Xavier Simons after the game, and I asked him. I said, "Do you need to be better from corners? This keeps happening. You keep losing. You're only one ball loss away from potentially going a goal down from your corner." And he was like, "Yeah, well, mistakes happen. They're only human. We're all human. We all make mistakes, of course. But the problem is, when they make an error on the edge of an opposition penalty area from a corner, they're getting punished. So you've got to be so perfect. You can't afford to make that mistake. You have to take greater care of the ball. Otherwise, you will get exploited. And lo and behold, referee mistake or not, you know, let's take away the referee. If he's not there, does Malem still make that mistake? Yes, I think he probably does. I just think it's too easy just to go, well, the referee was in the way, so when I controlled the ball, I got confused. It muddled my mind. I then lost the ball. I was tackled. I'm not sure that that's, in the cold light of day, a reasonable excuse. And yeah, the referee has apologised. He's gone. You know, Walter was booked at full time. That's his third booking. He's now suspended for a game. He will be not on the touchline for the game here on Wednesday night against Burnley. It will be down to Filip Tapalovic, Julian Hubner and Andy Dawson to take the game. So that's his punishment, because Hubner was also booked, by the way, in that about the goal, as was Alfie Jones. But I just think, for me, I just think you have to be better. I just think you have to be better in taking care of the ball and look after it better. Let's look at going the other way. Did City do enough to win the game? No, they've not had a single shot on target. Thought Bedia looked okay in moments, but again, I thought he was for me, he was often isolated. And there was a moment in the first half actually where he got to there was a ball forward. He got to it first time, played a wonderful first time pass through to Bellumi. Bellumi ran on, and then you're looking for the next pass either from Bellumi to be perfect for Bedia to run onto, or for Bedia to take a defender away and get a shot away. And the pass was poor, and that kind of just summed up City going forward today. The final ball was really poor. It was either too hard or too soft, and they just didn't really create anything of great significance. So I think you just have to put your hand up and go, look, we got done today. We need to learn from it. Sunderland had that bit of luck, the rub of the green that sometimes goes your way, sometimes doesn't. They had probably the referee, the lady look on their side in terms of the referee's performance. But I genuinely, you know, football's a game of opinions, and somebody else, Luke, you say you disagree, and that's absolutely fine. I don't think Hull City lost today because of the referee. I think Hull City lost today because they didn't create a goal of their own. They didn't have a single shot on target, and the one moment in the game where they just weren't quite switched on enough. And that is ultimately, in these tight games, really fine, balanced games in the Championship, where the games are won and decided, and ultimately it's gone against them today. Hopefully on Wednesday night against Burnley, you know, perhaps a refereeing decision goes in their favour. We'll have to wait and see. I think we've done that to death. I think we could sit here all night weighing up the pros and cons of that moment, and was it right? Was it wrong? I think we'd all agree, to sum it up, that the referee got it wrong. He perhaps could have erred on the side of, look, I've got in the way here. Let's retake the corner, okay? But he didn't. City just need to be better in those. You know, they're on the edge of the penalty area. They need to be better. There were a couple of debutants today. Charlie Hughes. I think we've all been waiting to see Charlie Hughes in from the start. We got 45 minutes from him at Norwich when he came on at 2-0 down. He started today at the expense of Sean McLaughlin. Thought he was tremendous, to be quite honest. Luke, I'll come to Tan in a minute at the end. Charlie, yeah, I thought Charlie was brilliant. He was powerful. He won his headers. He was good in the air. He was good on the deck. I thought it was a tremendous debut. To say he was again in the losing team, but I thought he was very good, Charlie Hughes. Everything that we thought he was going to be, and probably a bit more. And the biggest compliment you can pay to Charlie today is he's come in. It's his first Championship game for Hull City. You know, in the 10th game of the season, and he looked every inch a Championship player. So thought he was very, very good. Gustavo Puerta, we've obviously wanted to see him. We've not seen anything of him at all. He was named on the bench at Leeds, and then he's been out of it completely. I was with Tim on Friday, asked him about Gustavo in Turkey. He said he was the winner of everybody. He really impressed him, so he got his start today. I thought he did well. He won a tackle in the first minute, which I think probably settled him down a bit. I thought he did well. There was a moment in the first half which annoyed me a bit, I've got to be honest, and I guess this comes back to where Tim Walter has said that he's quite emotional, and that's something he needs to deal with, was the ball went into Bedia couldn't keep it, and sort of Puerta turned around and threw his arms up in frustration. Well, in doing that, he didn't get back into position, and Joe Bellingham ran on and fizzed the shot just wide of Pandor's post right on the stroke of half time. Well, you can't do that. You know, you can be frustrated that your teammate's not done something right, of course, but to almost throw a strop and allow the other team to go and get a shot away is criminal. So that's a learning curve. But that side, which somebody will point out to him, and I think he'll learn from, I actually thought it was a progressive debut. But the midfield generally still worries me, and the fact we're chopping, obviously. There were 4 changes today. Xavier Simons coming back in for Zambrano was one of them, and Xavier was played alongside Gustavo in the midfield. And I just think that correct. The fact that we every week it's different. One week it's Palmer, one week it's Malem in there, one week it's Slater in there, one week it's Zambrano in there. Obviously Finn Burns has been in there. Now Puerta's been in there. Simons has been in and out of there. Alzati's come off the bench in there. That is clearly a problem for the manager. He clearly doesn't have a duo that he is comfortable with. We saw last season that was a fairly solid. The 2 kind of defensive midfielders, if you like, in the double pivot as they call it now. That is something that we saw last season was generally it was quite solid. It was Mika Seri and Tyler Morton generally were the 2 that were played there. We're chopping and changing, and it's difficult to build those relationships, I think, when you're chopping and changing week after week. So that's something that he's got to find going forward. On the subject of Alzate, it looks like he's going to be out for a couple of 3 weeks with a calf problem. Tim described it as the pain is like a knife going into his leg. So he's going to be out. The news on Carl Rushworth is a little less positive in that sense. He's going to be out for probably 10 to 12 weeks with an ankle problem. They haven't decided yet whether he's going to do his rehab here or or he's going to go back to Brighton. So that's one to keep an eye on. So look, there's lots of people talking about Marvin Malem. I'm not sure he does enough to be in the side above somebody like Regan Slater, to be honest. He does some good stuff, of course he does, but I thought he was really poor today, and he looked knackered. He was in the first half. He was sort of ambling around, and he wasn't the only one. I thought Kamara was poor in the first half. He didn't look great. But obviously Miller had only got back from international duty late, as had Palmer and Zambrano. Have done a lot of travelling over the last couple of weeks, so that's probably why those 3 were out of the team. Well, particularly Miller and Zambrano. I wouldn't be surprised Burnley on Wednesday to see Zambrano and Miller come back into the side, personally. But again, that creates more change in the midfield, doesn't it? I feel it's a bit easier to interlock your wingers, and we know that probably going forward, Bellumi and Miller will be the preferred 2 at this stage. But it's in the centre of midfield, in that engine room, where you want protection for your back 4, but also you want that drive backward and forward, box to box. And I don't feel we're quite hit on that partnership yet. So that's something. But we're only 10 games in, a lot of new players, etc., etc. A couple of other things. As I touched on there, Tim will be banned for 3 games. Sorry, Tim will be banned for the Burnley game because he picked up his 3rd yellow card of the season. I think he got it after full time, and he did go and speak to Bobby Madley after the game in the referee's office. But so he was booked. That's it. On the subject of Tan, I know that's the big news story of the week. The club have said their piece. I don't believe at this stage the club have got any plans to comment further. I know there have been some suggestions in Turkey. I would leave them there. I would urge anybody commenting on it to be very careful, because of you could get yourself into all kinds of legal difficulties if you start commenting on speculation around it surrounding Tan's exit from the football club. I can't comment at this stage. It's not something we can comment on, and I know that's not ideal, but I'm sure you'll understand from a legal point of view, you have to be very careful. You can't just come out and make wild accusations about people or anything like that. So I would just urge people to be really careful. Tanner's gone. As I understand it, that there are no plans to replace him. I don't personally think they need to replace him. I think, you know, the club have got a structure here that works. They've got, you know, they've got people both based at the MKM Stadium, at the training ground. The system, you know, is what it is. I don't think that Tan needs to be replaced. You know, they've got people that will still go to EFL meetings, that will have conversations with the council, with other football clubs. They've got a head of recruitment, they've got a head of scouting, they've got a head of finance, they've got a CEO. They've got everybody they could possibly need at the football club to get on with the job. So it's business as usual. I don't think we need to worry too much about what's you know, about going forward. They will be absolutely fine. In terms of the whys and wherefores of Tan's departure, possibly something will come out officially in due course. I would have my doubts personally, because I think it's a difficult one to navigate. So, you know, let's leave that one there for the time being. That's probably it from here at the MKM Stadium. City beaten 1-0 by Sunderland. Back in action here, of course, on Wednesday night, 7:45 against Burnley, before next Saturday's trip to Derby County Pride Park. Get in touch at the 1904 Club for your thoughts on the game, the situation, who you think should come in the team, who should go out the team, your general thoughts on City after 10 games. It's always a yardstick that we kind of look to, isn't it? 10 games of the season. I think it's difficult these days, given the way the transfer window closes after 3 or 4 games of the season. I think what used to be 10 games is probably maybe 12 or 13, but who really knows? What we do know is that City have won 3, they've drawn 3, they've now lost 4 back-to-back games without scoring, having scored 10 in 3 games. They you know, let's look at the positives. I thought Charlie Hughes was brilliant today. Some encouraging signs from Puerta. Thought the goalkeeper did okay again. But they are a work in progress, and that is going to be the case for the season. I think this season is going to be one of transition. I think they're going to win a couple, they'll lose 2 or 3, and there'll be a lot of frustration, but a lot of encouragement as well. So it's yeah, let's see what Wednesday night brings everybody. Thanks as always for getting in touch. Do get in touch with your questions for Burnsy, for Fletch, and for Prutz at the 1904 Club, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks everybody. Take it.